Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm the Maze Madman. Before we get started, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell so you're aware every time I upload a video. Today we're talking some excellent performances from Michigan commits in the 2024 class, plus a trio of freshman wide receivers that head coach Jim Harbaugh is raving about. All that, and of course, I'm upset. No disrespect, respectfully. But disrespectfully, it's disrespect. Don't be disrespectful. Those vile, disgusting Spartans. Poor little bro, man. And I'ma tell him why I'm mad. That vile, disgusting cesspool in Columbus. The other state. And of course, as always, I'm upset. Let's get right to it. Michigan commit 4-star quarterback Jadyn Davis out of Providence Day School in Charlotte, North Carolina, had himself a ball game, ladies and gentlemen. A ball game. Completing 24 of 35 of his passes for 458 yards, 5 big touchdowns, 0 interceptions. This is after a first quarter where he was only 3 of 7 for 37 yards and had been sacked 3 times. Way to bounce back. This shows so much. This is why, watching the games in the film is so important. This is why playing the games is so important. This guy had been kind of disrespected, if we're being honest, over the last couple of months, especially after that Elite 11-on-11 finals. Then he comes out and has a performance like this, the first game of his senior season against a pretty good team from South Carolina, coming up to play Providence Day in Charlotte. This was an excellent performance. I cannot say that enough. 450 plus yards, 5 touchdowns. After, and this is in 3 quarters pretty much, right? Like 421 of these yards came in the last 3 quarters of the football game. All 5 of these touchdowns came in the last quarter of the football game. This is insane, these numbers, all right? Insane. That's 21, basically. He went 21 of 28. Right? The rest of the way. 21 of 28, 421 yards, 5 touchdowns in 3 quarters, basically, is what I'm saying to you. It wasn't just him. Of course, he has 4-star wide receivers to throw to, including Jordan Shipp, who chose North Carolina over the Wolverines. Hopefully the Wolverines stay on his phone line, though, because this kid caught 13 passes for 234 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is crazy, but I don't want to shortchange the wide receiver Michigan did end up getting to commit, Channing Goodwin, as he went for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns himself at receiver, including an 85-yarder where he caught a beautiful pass over the middle from Jadyn Davis, a little intermediate pass, if you will, that he took the rest of the way, outran the opposing defense for 85 yards in the tub. These guys went out and performed, and I can't stress enough that Jadyn Davis's 5th star deserves to be there. Now, this is game 1. I understand it's only 1 game, but this is a 5-star talent. He is a 5-star talent. He deserves his 5th star. We'll see what happens with these recruiting services. Moving on, Jadyn Davis, Channing Goodwin weren't the only future Wolverines to have spectacular opening games. Jordan Marshall, the senior from Cincinnati Moeller, senior running back, said before the game, quote, "I want to be Mr. Ohio, but I don't think I'll get it because I committed to Michigan. The people in Ohio can't be this petty and not get a kid Mr. Ohio, reward him for what he's done just because he committed to the better university," by the way. Anyway, let's talk about his football game. His team, Cincinnati Moeller, took on Ben Davis of Indiana. Cincinnati Moeller came up on the short end of this one, 49-28, but it wasn't due to Mr. Marshall, as he ran for 3 touchdowns, caught another touchdown. In fact, he was responsible for all 4 Cincinnati Moeller touchdowns, including a 75-yarder on the opening play of the game. These Michigan kids, these commits, came out to play. Not only that, not only did he score the only touchdowns for his football team, he was dealing with cramps all night. After that 75-yarder, he cramps up. He's dealing with cramps all night, still manages to score the only 3 other touchdowns his team got on the night. These guys are amazing, but it doesn't stop there, because Michigan's other running back in the class, Micah Kaapana, 3-star, by the way, egregious 3-star, because this kid is nothing short of a 5-star and a 4-star, and should be knocking on the door of 5, and I'll explain why. He ran for 200. Listen, strap yourselves to your seat. Get ready for this. 233 yards, 3 touchdowns on just 12 carries. Do you understand the math here? Let me do some math real quick. I'm just going to do some quick math. He only rushed the ball 12 times. Of the 12 times, he scored on 3 of the 12 carries. That's 25% of the time he touches the ball, he scores with it. Not only that, but 233 yards on 12 carries. That's like something I do on Madden. You don't do that. By the way, you got to do that on Madden on like Pro. You can't do that on all Madden. 12 carries, 233 yards. That's 19 yards per carry for those who are struggling with the math. That's like giving a guy a ball, and every time he touches it, he gets 2 first downs basically every time he touches it. And then every 4th time he touches it, he scores a touchdown. Understand, these numbers are ridiculous, people. Ridiculous. Incredible. Moving on, though. Michigan, I spoke about this a little in my previous video. Michigan in a recruiting battle with a couple teams in Florida, Miami, and Florida State for 4-star or 5-star, depending on the service. I got to say that every time. It's like a disclaimer. Zaquan Patterson, the safety out of Chaminade Madonna High School in Florida. I love this kid's attitude. He's a super competitor. But now it seems, according to a source, that Florida State isn't the team that Michigan has to deal with most. Miami isn't the team Michigan has to deal with most. Instead, now the dark horse is Auburn. That being said, the one constant in all of these conversations is Michigan, which leads me to believe that Michigan is in the catbird seat in terms of his recruitment, and Michigan may land him this upcoming Saturday, August 26th. Tune in live. I'll have it live on the Maze Madman channel this Saturday. Be there. Moving right along. Speaking of spectacular performances from Providence Day School in Charlotte, North Carolina, the number 1 recruit in the class of 2025, David Sanders, got some encouraging news for Michigan regarding Mr. Sanders, as not only during his last visit did he really enjoy it and was he really impressed by the Wolverines, but word out of Charlotte, North Carolina, is that he is really close with Channing Goodwin, the 4-star wide receiver out of Providence Day School, who has committed to the Wolverines. He is a legacy commit, Channing Goodwin, as his father did play offensive lineman at the University of Michigan, which is another great thing to have when recruiting an offensive lineman. Just so happens the number 1 offensive lineman in all of America, David Sanders. David Sanders views Channing Goodwin as a big brother, I'm told, which is excellent, again, for Michigan and the Michigan staff. And though his father, Channing's Goodwin's father, isn't necessarily forcing Michigan down the throat of David Sanders. It is always great to have that kind of relationship with a former Wolverine and also a current or a future Wolverine in Channing Goodwin. So excellent news and a big feather in the cap for Michigan there. Hopefully they'll be able to close with David Sanders, as that would be massive, and I'm sure it would help if Michigan got another certain 5-star that we won't talk about in this video, but you guys know who I'm talking about. Moving right along. The Michigan coaching staff, including head coach Jim Harbaugh, is raving about a trio of Michigan wide receivers, freshman wide receivers, Samaj Morgan, Frederick Moore, and Carmelo English. It is said that these guys are really impressing in practice. They are raving about their abilities to get out in and out of cuts, including Samaj Morgan, who is a shorter receiver, but according to Michigan wide receiver coach Ron Bellamy, he has a massive catch radius as he extends his arms well, is a great athlete, and is able to high point the football, which is excellent news. Of course, Michigan desperately needs some good news at wide receiver and desperately needs to be able to throw the ball this upcoming season with more and better effectiveness than they have in the past for a myriad of reasons. I'm not going to run them all down because we've talked about them here on the channel, and I'm sure we will talk about them in the future. And this video has gone long enough, if you understand what I'm saying. That being said, it is time for the Triple M shoutouts. Let's get right to it. Triple M shoutout number 1 is going to go to Jerry Appia. Shout out to you. You are officially a madman. The second one is going to go and no place else. Go to and no place else. Shout out to you. You are officially a madman. And last but certainly not least, the final Triple M shout out is going to go to John Awal. Officially, you are a madman. Thank you for your continued support, everyone. Be sure to follow me everywhere at Maze Madman. And as always, stay angry, my friends. I'm upset.
Ladies and gentlemen, this might be our best season ever. My ratings, they're about to go to the roof.
All right. Now I'm gonna calm down. So I'm gonna calm down, son. I just don't get that all that mace and that lock and all that. I just don't get it, son. For real.
Just calm
and how the